Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the WD Broadcasting Network. Tonight we are back with the Winter Challenge Series at the new Smyrna Speedway for the TS Heating and Cooling 150. Getting ready to go. Qualifying underway. A smaller field here tonight, so everybody going to go straight through to the race. And it will be 150 laps straight. "150 laps will be the distance here tonight. They have one set of tires in the pits. And we are just about ready to go. We do have a co-host here tonight in the Winter Challenge Series for the first time, joining me up in the broadcast booth for tonight's race. We call him B Gravy, Brian Gravel. You oftentimes see him on the racetrack behind the wheel in some of these races that we broadcast. But Brian, up in the booth tonight, how are you feeling for your first time on the air, first time covering the Winter Challenge Series?
Feeling pretty good. Looking forward to it. Been asking to come up here for a little bit, and finally got a chance to come up here, and we're gonna see what this is all about, and ready to watch these guys go at it tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a long 150 lap race. We've got a set of tires in the pits, and the sun is out. How do you feel the tire strategy is going to play into tonight's race? Are we going to see a differing strategy, or is everybody kind of going to be along the same lines?
I say it's really gonna depend on cautions here tonight. Especially with the late model. Tires can make a difference. It all depends on the green flag runs that they've had and how long they've went and whether they've really burned up the right rear tire or the right front in this case, because this car is really dominant on the right front tire. And just it's really gonna come down to the cautions and how spread out they are. Because let's say they go on a 30 lap run and then they stack up 3 or 4 cautions, and by that time they're on like close to lap 50. Is it really going to be worth taking tires at the end, or is it going to be better to keep the track position?
Yeah, cautions we've seen play a role in when people pit. We saw it last night in the only short tracks league. Later in the race, they ended up pitting past the 200 mark. So we'll see if it's a similar story here tonight. 109 degrees on track this evening, Brian. It's gonna be a hot one. Like you said, gonna have to keep the tires on it. But a competitive field. We are 6 races into the season. Looking at the point standings, Tristan Swanson leads Trent Smith by 18. Anthony Danta in the 3rd spot. Derek Kraus sitting in the 4th spot. Kraus has won the last 3 races, and he's trying to make it 4 in a row here tonight. And actually, I believe, looking at post-race, there may have been some penalties last week at Slinger. I'm not really sure what happened there, but last 3 times I broadcasted this, Gravel, Derek Kraus has went to victory lane. What do you think he can do tonight? He starts from the rear. Can he make it 4?
I mean, that's going to be really tough starting from the rear because, you're going to have to dodge the chaos, and really, I feel like here at the beginning, it's going to be really a one-line racetrack. With it being as hot as it is, you don't want to really race too hard because then you're going to burn the right rear tire off of it, which, again, they do have a set in the pits, but you can make up all that ground, and these guys up front have been saving, and now you're back in the pits, back to the back, and you're back in the same position you're in. So I think he could possibly get it done as long as he stays smart and keeps the car in one piece, because anything can happen at all times. Anything can happen.
Yeah, these cars are so close on time. Not as much horsepower as the Big Brother, the super late models, which we got done running just now. It's going to be a lot closer of a field. Everybody doesn't get as spread out as we see some other cars throughout races. Everybody's going to stay tightly packed, and it's going to make for an exciting race. We're finishing up this heat race. I think they have to basically just wait for the pace car to finish completing laps. I'm not sure what we are waiting on. But here at the new Smyrna Speedway tonight, nonetheless, an interesting track when it comes to here on iRacing, a two-grooved racetrack as we get ready for tonight's race. We are going to take a quick step away while we finish up the last chance qualifier here. I think they have to wait a little while for these drivers to get to the A feature. We are just about ready to go. We'll come back when we go green in just a moment on the WD Broadcasting Network. Alrighty, folks, we're back here on the WD Broadcasting Network, just about ready to go. Green flag racing here in tonight's TS Heating and Cooling 150. We'll look at the qualifying results for you guys up on screen. We had 15 cars take time here this evening. There's some more drivers in the session, but not everybody took a time, Grable. The invert's going to be 8, which puts Tristan Swanson, your points leader, on the pole. How do you think the rest of the field feels after seeing the points leader drawing the first spot on the grid?
I mean, that's definitely not good. Not good in their case, especially if they're trying to run him down, you know, close up the gap. That's really tough, especially when it gets inverted to the pole. Really and truly, I wouldn't feel too good about that, because then that puts you behind even more. So you just got to hope that your qualifying points will rack up there at the end, and maybe you can get to the front and try to close down that points gap.
Yeah, there's a couple guys close to him that qualified right up in the front of the grid. That's Trent Smith and Anthony Danta, both of those guys right there in points. Good qualifying efforts here tonight. But do you think they'll race a little bit differently, especially Tristan Swanson, knowing he's got the points lead starting from the grid? How do you think that changes his race?
Definitely changes it a whole lot, because then you gotta really mind your P's and Q's there.
Yeah, he's gonna have to keep everybody behind him, but also not be too aggressive defending that lead. Like we mentioned, though, invert going to be 8, so we'll look at the starting grid here in just a moment. These drivers are finishing up the grid, or the warm-up, I should say, before we get to the starting grid. And it's a fixed setup here tonight, so they don't have adjustments to make, but they can make a couple adjustments, Gravy. They can make the steering offset adjustments and ratio adjustments, things like that, brake bias. What are your go-to adjustments when you run the late model stocks on a fixed setup?
Really, my go-to is definitely your steering ratio, because, you know, as I said earlier, these cars are very right front dominant. Very right front dominant. So you really want to, and this won't make sense to some, but will make sense to most. And 8-to-1, you know, it's a lot less steering, but because it's a quicker ratio, but it tends to burn up the right front more. If you go to something like, I personally run a 10-to-1, and it gives me a good feel of the car not being too twitchy, it's not too fast of steering, and it's just a good middleman from the 8-to-1 to the 12-to-1, because the 12-to-1's super loose. And then, you know, you can screw with the steering offset to, you know, +2 to get the wheel a little bit to the right and maybe help you not put as much wheel into it through the center of the corner, because that's what makes sense in your mind, because the more wheel equals the more wear on your tires. So personally here, I'm going to 10-1. I'm probably going to leave the steering offset, and then throughout the race is where you pull with the brake bias. You know, let's say you fire off the race a little free in, you can go up on brake bias, or let's say you fire off tight, you can go back on brake bias and go ahead and get the nose set early.
Yeah, the brake bias you definitely want to play around with throughout the race. We experienced that in the super race we just did. Had to move it back tremendously from the start. Brakes on the front got a little bit hot. The front end didn't start or didn't want to rotate. I'm sure we'll see a lot of that here this evening. Long straightaways here at New Smyrna. You really got to get the cars woed down. As the field is set, we are ready to go through the starting grid as the field makes their way down. All right, ready to look at our starting lineup here. Get it up on screen for you guys. On the pole, it's going to be the number 91 machine of Tristan Swanson, starting from the top spot. That's your points leader here this evening. And then to his outside, it's going to be Preston Boers in the number 001. In the third spot, it's going to be Jackson Lewis in the 07. And then to his outside, it'll be Ryan Honeycutt in the 128. Row number 3 on the bottom, Joe Schaefer Jr. in the 6. And then to his outside, Anthony Danta in the 51. Trent Smith in the 3 machine going to roll off from the 7th spot in the 3 car. He's the second place driver in points right now, looking for a good run here tonight. And then last week's winner, Derek Krause, scheduled to start in the 8th spot here tonight. I believe, be starting from the rear. We'll see once things get back going. But Michael Ostiek going to start from the 9th spot in the 18 machine. Corey Rogers going to start 10th to his outside in the 17. Brett McCoy in the 1 machine going to start from the 9th spot. And to his outside, it's Ryan Howard in the 307. Look further back in row number 7. It'll be the number 029 of Eddie Dabrowski with Scott Kingswan to his outside. And then rounding out our field, I believe it is Anthony Danta. A couple guys serving EOLs. But 16 cars leading us to the green. Look at the single file line back behind Gravy. Going to shake things up here as we get ready to go through the restart zone. Pace car is off, and we are green flag and underway down into turns 1 and 2.
Looks like the 91 right there got a really good jump.
Yeah, Tristan Swanson got a great jump in the 91 machine, able to clear Preston Boers, and now Jackson Lewis in the 07 going to fight for the second spot as they're wrecking back behind. Yeah, Ryan Honeycutt right there in the 28 machine went around. I think everybody else missed and was able to avoid, but the 28 got tagged off of 4. And around they go early on, lap 1, Gravel. Gonna potentially make for a long night.
Yeah, I mean, wow. He just got him right there in the left rear, just coming up off the corner. And around he goes, back into the wall. Not good right there. Car's definitely going to be really hurt after that. Just hard racing right there. Bit too early, but hey, that happens.
Yeah, it's very easy to get a little bit over-aggressive. You saw the contact down into 3, and then looked like they were just tied up off the corner, and I think the 6 machine just used up a little bit more room than the 28 had to give.
Yeah,
see Honeycutt spin.
Like the 28, the 28 just tried to get down, getting into 3, and kind of got a shot, and then he just tried to use a more racetrack than what the 28 was going to use, and just didn't work out there.
Yeah, big bumper down into 3 kind of started that whole thing. Good job by the rest of the field back behind, though, to avoid. Honeycutt held the brakes on the bottom. But under caution early on here for the first time. Tristan Swanson brings it down pit road in the 91 machine. Maybe some off-fuel strategies here. Couple drivers coming down pit road there. That'll hand the lead over to Preston Boers.
Yeah, we could definitely be seeing a different pit strategy there. You know, go ahead and get your fuel and try to make it on tires here. Which I don't see him making it on tires, but maybe he's just trying to plan on his pit stop being a little bit faster and trying to gain some positions when they come down for tires.
Yeah, you don't have to put as much in late, but it is a little bit early. You really didn't have time to burn off anything in those first couple laps as they do the choose cone on the front stretch. Drivers going inside and out, though a couple I think may have went through the middle right there. We get ready to send them back green. Five laps in, 145 laps remain. Jackson Lewis and Preston Boers. Boers chose the outside lane. He's going to get a good launch on the outside. He'll be clear down into turn number 1.
Yeah, Boers right there got a really good jump again, and then now he's got Lewis right behind him, hanging out about half a car back.
Yeah, you see Derek Krause in the 3rd spot in the 9. Look at Tristan Swanson. He's already back up to 5th, so either a lot of cars pit behind him, or he's able to get a good start there and make a couple positions early. You see Lewis down into turn number 3, all over the back bumper of Boers, but he's got Derek Krause right behind him as well. Battle for the lead.
Yeah, it looks like Lewis is definitely running a little bit different of a line here. Definitely working it out a little bit more.
That's one thing I like about New Smyrna. It really opens up an opportunity for drivers to drive a different line, and often you can make different things work. As you and I both know, there's a different line in 1 and 2. Some drivers like to cut it down to the bottom on the exit, and others just keep it in that second groove. I'm sure we'll see it change here throughout the race as well, so don't be surprised if we see some drivers start to use that outside lane way up on the exit of turn number 2.
Yeah, it looks like Lewis is just keeping it way higher there. He's higher through 1 and 2 and lower in 3 and 4, but it really looks like Krause is kind of catching him every time he does that.
Yeah,
as
Derek
Krause takes a peek to his inside.
Yeah, Derek Krause has been all season long. He's been very competitive, and he's been consistent too. Only involved in a couple incidents that have really put him out behind the 8 ball. He can keep it clean here tonight. Sure, we're going to see him battling at the front when it's time for the checkered flag to fly. Just 13 laps in right now.
Yeah, definitely a long way to go here. Anything could happen here. It looks like everybody's got single filed out. They're kind of in a rhythm now, or getting to a rhythm. Again, Krause is looking low here on Lewis, but just can't seem to get it done. It looks like the top's still got the drive. He's just probably going to try to stay patient here.
Yeah, single file top 5 right now, and a couple drivers starting to fall back behind him. But right now, getting some green flag laps in. We didn't get right there in the beginning, but after that first caution flag, these drivers figuring it out here, getting some green flag laps in, and this is the point in the race, Grable, where it's difficult as a driver to make the decision between, do you want to drive to the front, or do you want to kind of wait and bide your time? There's a long way to go, but track position, like we've mentioned before, is very important here at New Smyrna.
Yes, this is really the deciding factor in what you're going to do here. From 10 to about 25 laps is when you got to make your decision. Are you going to push for a little bit now, and maybe, you know, let's say you want the outside or something, but here you ain't got to really worry about that. You got the choose cone in effect. So it's really, do you want to not be behind as many people? Because when you're not behind as many people, you know, you have a less likely chance of wrecking. but at the same time, could the guy behind you be pushing you to go? This is your point to decide. Do I need to go for a little bit, or do I just let him go and just be patient?
Yeah, a lot of drivers with different paces, especially here early in the race, as Jackson Lewis takes a peek to the bottom down in turn number 3. Battle for the lead. Ooh!
Contact.
Yeah, they're door slamming down into 3. Boers didn't want to give up that top lane, and he's still fighting on the outside. Lewis fighting back on the bottom, and there's more contact on the exit of 2.
Contact.
Yeah, Boers up into the wall. I think he's going to have to give way right here. You're not going to be able to hold the top when you don't have the advantage down into 3. The new leader, Jackson Lewis, muscles his way by. He'll take the top spot.
Way to the top.
Yeah, Preston Boers losing some ground now. Back to the 4th spot. Corey Rogers going to move up to 3rd. Now Jackson Lewis leads Kraus.
Honestly, like what Boers did there, he got some pretty good contact right there, and he just kind of got out of line and dropped into a spot where he wasn't going to be taking a chance of getting his stuff tore up right there. It's a long way to go. Just keep that in the back of your mind and keep running your race.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to worsen the situation. He kind of got roughed up a little bit and backed off and said, all right, we'll just wait in line for now. We'll remember it for later. But running in the 4th spot at this moment, he doesn't seem too rattled. He's settling back in just ahead of Tristan Swanson, your fast qualifier. Or pole sitter, I should say.
Seems that they're all just kind of riding it out. Cars are looking a little bit slidey off exit. As a driver, they might want to be watching that just to make sure they have enough tire if it comes down to it. A restart right before you want to take tires, you can still keep a good track position so you don't lose as many spots in the pits.
Yeah, being down pit road, you got to be as efficient as possible. Don't want to lose time. Although sometimes, Gravel, it seems like other people have better pit boxes. Have you ever gone down pit road, or pit crews, I should say? Have you ever gone down pit road, do everything right, beat the guy into the box, beat him out of the box, and then somehow he just makes it down pit road faster than you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. I feel like sometimes I have my grandparents out there changing tires for me, but, one day I'm going to have my grandpa and grandma out there, changing right sides for me, and then the next week, I got a cup team out there, so you never know what we're gonna get. I guess I don't buy enough cheeseburgers for my guys at the racetrack. Maybe we need to look into fitting that into the budget.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you give the guys some help. Up front, though, right now, Derek Kraus putting some pressure on Jackson Lewis. Those two have separated themselves from Corey Rogers a little bit as Kraus actually looks to the bottom out of turn number 2. And he's going to try to take that spot away.
Yeah, it looks like Lewis just let him go there, being smart.
Yeah, didn't want to...
Kraus is just really getting him in 1 and 2 with this high arc line. That could really hurt a right rear tire doing that.
Yeah, it's a good line, but like you said, it doesn't last. You can't do it forever because it will burn off that right rear tire, and that is the most important tire here in the late model stocks. You can't burn off the right rear. You also can't burn off the right front, but it is a lot easier to burn off the right rear with a hot racetrack like this here tonight.
Yeah, with the temperature of the right front, you ain't going to be as worried about burning it off. Really got to focus on the right rear tonight. But Kraus is starting to pull away here. He's got about a 2 to 3 car gap now that he's built up. And Lewis is kind of getting him on exit, but his entry to center just ain't nowhere in competition.
Yeah, right now your top 4 have a gap to Tristan Swanson. Corey Rogers in the 3rd spot, starting to close in on Jackson Lewis for P2.
Ryan Tedeschi is also closing in on our points leader, Tristan Swanson here. He's kind of been reeling him in each lap, and now he's looking low a little bit here. I just don't think he'll be able to get that move done right there. He's just been holding really tight to his bumper.
Yeah, those two gonna have a battle here soon. Back behind him, Brian Tedeschi looking underneath Tristan Swanson. That's the battle for the 5th spot. Tedeschi has been moving towards the front. Started 17th in this one, up to the 6th spot. Your top 5 begin to settle down.
Back to Rogers and Lewis here, you know, he will get them reeled in here, and then he'll kind of slide coming up off the corner, and he'll open the gap back up. He just keeps reeling them in and back off. Maybe he's just trying to play a mind game with him here, just try to get him to overdrive his car and, you know, burn up his tires before he burns up his.
Yeah, Derek Cross right now has a good gap over Jackson Lewis. As the leader at this point, what is your biggest goal? What are you trying not to do out front? What are you trying to do, and what are you trying not to do?
At this point, if I'm in Derek Krause's position, I'm definitely going to try not to overdrive the car. I'm going to really focus on not overdriving the car. I'm just going to really focus on being smooth, consistent, hit my marks each lap, finding a good lap time range that I'm comfortable and still fast with, that's not going to hurt the tires or it's not going to overheat the tires. I'm going to find a really good smooth line where I'm able to hit it consistently lap after lap and just keep focused out front, not worry about what's going on behind me. Because he's got a good, you know, 6 to 7 car length there, so you know he's in a good spot.
Oh, here comes Rogers to the bottom of Lewis.
May have been a little contact there in 1 and 2. Looks like Rogers may have slid up into his door. More contact coming off of 4 right there. Rogers isn't gonna be able to get it done. He now has Boers tight to him. Back underneath Lewis here.
Corey Rogers in the 3rd spot. Took a peek underneath Jackson Lewis right there, and that just goes to show how tough it's going to be to pass here this evening. You get underneath somebody, and you feel so much faster than them when you drive up to them, but it's just so hard to make that pass work.
Especially in a late model stock here. The top line through 1 and 2 is just so dominant. If you're going to make a pass, you're going to have to try to get to his right rear quarter through 1 and 2. But at the same time, maybe if you're close enough coming off of 4, you can get almost even with him down the straightaway. Try to stick with him through 1 and 2 on the bottom, and then 3 and 4 the bottom's the dominant line there. Rogers still looking low. I'm at this point in his shoes, I think I'm going to try to lay off just a little bit. But he just looks to be so much faster through 3 and 4. That's where he's getting all of his time at.
Yeah, you don't want to sit behind somebody and lose time, but you don't want to burn up your stuff trying to get by him. So I think Corey Rogers right now just trying to take it easy. As you see, he does pull up to the top and let Preston Boers by right there. See if Preston Boers can make the pass there.
I was just about to mention, you know, Rogers was trying to get to his inside, but he also had to keep in mind that Boers was right behind him and was going to take advantage of him racing him at some point. But there, like you just said, you know, Rogers has kind of moved out of the way and got right back in line, and maybe going to see if he can make something happen. And maybe if he tries to make something happen, he'll try to get the pass done on Lewis once he opens the gap for him.
Yep, you can try to follow somebody through. Right now, Lewis sitting in the 2nd spot. Derek Krause still your leader. We're just about to the lap 50 mark here at the new Smyrna Speedway. It's a little bit of a longer race. It is a 150 lap race like we've been used to these past couple weeks with Winter Challenge Series. But new Smyrna Speedway, a longer track and a little bit longer lap times than what some of these guys may be used to. Maybe a little bit more tough of a physical challenge here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Krause is doing a pretty good job now at staying consistent. I mean, he's been running consistent mid to low high 90s. You know, he's backed off to an O a couple of times, but he's, like I said, he's staying very consistent and just keeping the car underneath him. The car doesn't look to get upset at any point. He's just being smooth and consistent and taking care of his tires.
Yes, right now, looking at the lap times, actually the second place driver, Jackson Lewis, was just a little bit quicker that last time around. But they do go back and forth. As you see, Kraus was faster that time. But everybody up at the front, you just got to stay consistent and not overheat the tires. That's the goal for a lot of these drivers here tonight.
100%. You know, everybody's kind of spread out right now, just waiting longer in the run. This is the point now, as a driver, I would be thinking about a pit strategy. You know, we've been on this long of a green flag run. How much have I hurt my tires? How much is the car tight? Is it loose? You know, what can I do to help the car drive better? Or what can I do better as a driver to not upset the car? This is the point where you really need to start thinking about this, because you could pit early and elect for the track position and just hope that it plays out your way, or you could wait till longer in the run and just hope that after you take tires, everybody's kind of burn up their stuff and you can try to just drive straight past them and right back to the front. But this is really the point where you got to be thinking about that.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, we're getting close to that halfway point. So we'll probably see some drivers come down to pit road this next caution flag, assuming we get one. But I don't think we'll see everybody. A lot of drivers, I'm sure, will maybe stay out for a later point in the race.
And now Derek Kraus is seeing in his windshield a lap car, so, you know, he's got to make sure he's smart with this and just hope that the lap car, you know, kind of gives him the line and can move forward.
Yeah, that lap car is actually Trent Smith in the 3 machine. Driver's second place in points, not having the best of runs here so far. Actually, sorry, that's not Trent Smith. That's Jason Hack in the 115. Wrong car there. Jason a couple laps down. 5 laps down so far. Did not have the best start to this race.
But speaking of Trent Smith, he is the last car on the lead lap. It's not good for points when the points leader is currently, you know, running P6, I believe.
P5, Tristan Swanson currently
P5.
sits. But Trent Smith, right now, he does have a lot of time as he goes to make a pass on Scott Kingswan. But I think he knows he's got a lot of time. He's trying to save as much of the tire as he can, but at some point you do have to start to go back forward, because if those guys catch you and you try to get on it too late, you may burn up the tires and put yourself at risk of going a lap down.
Yep, 100%. Looks like Preston Boers here is, you know, kind of putting the pressure on Lewis here. He's been really hanging tight to that back bumper here.
Yeah, he is right there on the bumper as he tags Wall out of 4. Looking at the lap times that last time by, everybody in the top 5 was an 18.9. So very consistent field. About 10 laps shy of halfway. You can see Kraus kind of caught Jason Hack at a weird spot. Checked him up a little bit off of 4.
Boers is really getting really good through 1 and 2. The cars are just so even, it's hard to make something happen. You know, he's really protecting that right front with his, you know, low and straight exit off of 4, unlike Lewis here, where he's kind of driving it all the way to the wall, which will build up a lot of heat really, really quick in the right front.
Yeah, you see Boers on the exit.
There.
Tried to peek underneath. I just don't think he's going to be able to get the job done on the bottom very easily.
Now
but
he's looking low through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I remember when the 07 passed Preston Boers, the contact that he made for the lead. I wonder if that's on Preston Boers' mind. He approaches him for the second spot.
You know, it definitely could be. You know, especially, you know, taking get endured a couple of times, you know. After one time, you can kind of let it slide, but when it goes to the second time, you kind of really don't appreciate that as a driver. For me, at least, I don't.
Yeah, especially 2 corners in a row. We'll see what Preston Boers thinks as we've got a battle for the 4th spot back behind him. Tristan Swanson right there in the back bumper of Corey Rogers. He had a peek to the inside through 1 and 2, just could not get the run up off the corner.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're going to make a pass happen here, you're definitely going to have to try to get to the right rear through 1 and 2. It's just so hard to get your nose in there just because, you know, we're here at New Smyrna, the wall kicks out and then it kicks back in. So it's definitely hard. That's a lot of people will get pinched in the wall right there. You just gotta be close enough and know what the guy in front of you is doing consistently each lap. You just gotta find where he's weak at his entry point and just try to capitalize on it.
Yeah, as you see the 91 all over the back bumper. He made an effort to the inside. We got a battle for second. Here comes Boers down to the inside, not able to do it that time out of 2.
Yeah, and again, we see it right there. The top coming off 1 and 2 is just, it's so hard to beat. Boers right there really slid that right rear coming off of 4. Maybe it just needs to take a couple laps here to let it cool back down and, you know, try for it again as we're right here at the halfway point, come to lap 72.
Yeah, we'll get the halfway mark in 3 laps as Corey Rogers able to hang on to the 4th spot. I think, Grable, if these guys are going to make a pass, it's going to be getting the big run out of 2 down the back straightaway and lining up a dive into turn number 3. That's often where we see drivers make passes in real life. And it works here on iRacing too.
Again. Yeah, I mean, Swanson here is breathing down Rogers' neck again. You know, he's really, as you just mentioned, he's really on work and getting a good run off of 2, and I think he's just going to try to stick it down to the bottom, getting into 3. He's just got to be close enough.
Yes, we'll get the halfway signal next time by. We've been green for quite some time. A lot more green flag laps than we've seen the past couple weeks. A lot of these drivers doing a good job here tonight. And that's going to change the way that some of these drivers maybe change some of the speed that some of these drivers have later in the race because they've been used to having a lot of caution flags, but now they're having this green flag run. Tires are definitely going to be a little bit hotter as we progress towards the later stages.
For sure, you know, and with how spread out the field is, you know, you're not likely to get a caution here. You know, if I'm Derek Kraus right here, I'm going to really be saving hard because I'm going to be expecting this thing to go green for a while because we've already been green this long. I could expect it to go all the way to the checkered here. So right here, I'm going to just be really conserving my tires and hoping I've saved enough just in case there's a very late, you know, restart. But at that point, you know, all the guys behind you as a leader, you can decide not to go out, and then second on back goes in the pits, and then you're just sitting there. You're at that point, you're screwed, you know, if all these guys take tires.
Yeah, you're a sitting duck if everybody behind you gets tires and you are on old tires, especially if you don't get another caution after that.
You know, I'm really glad you can complete that. You know, I was looking for the words, just couldn't find them.
Yeah, I got a couple word tracks that are frequently used, and that's one of them. Tristan Swanson, one more time, look down to the bottom in 3 and 4, but even down into 3 and 4, Rogers was able to hold off on the top side. You almost need contact to pass or a really big run.
Yeah, definitely, if you're going to make a pass, you're definitely going to have to, you know, lean up on his door a little bit. You know, you don't have to go in there and knock him to the wall, but you're definitely going to have to lean up on his door a little bit and kill his momentum.
Yeah, because there's a lot of momentum up on the outside lane. We've seen drivers be able to drive up to the outside, but even if somebody's on the inside in front of you, it's just hard to get to their outside without them being able to clear is one more time.
Swanson looks low again, you know. He keeps it off of him. He stays
Ooh,
even.
contact there.
Contact.
Yeah,
Looks
a little
like the
bit.
17 got in the wall a little bit.
Yeah, the 91 a lot closer alongside there, but just the 17 shoots back forward on the exit of 4.
You know, now Swanson is able to kind of hold him out. Oh, more contact up off the corner.
Yeah, Rogers was
Now
able
the
to clear
91
that time.
Now the 91's really got to think. You know, he's got Tedeschi right behind him. So now he's going to have to be smart. Now he's got to protect his position.
Yeah, you don't want to get past trying to make a pass as Swanson kind of calms back down in the 4th spot. Anthony Danta right there, creeping in for the 7th spot. There goes Swanson to the outside. He got to his right rear. And surely he's going to go right on by now.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at that run he had. I mean, he was hanging back at his door, and at the end of the straightaway, you know, the 17 was just hanging at his quarter. I mean, that much of a run.
Yeah, as you see Corey Rogers try to get back down, but Brian Tedeschi not going to let it happen. And the contact with the wall, Rogers went way up the racetrack. Back to the 6th spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to give Rogers, you know, a really good chunk of right front damage, which is not going to help his center cut, you know?
Yeah, you can see the wheel kind of sticking out now on the right front. Car does not look as happy through the center.
You can really tell by looking at Rogers' car. He's definitely struggling with tight center now.
Yeah, when you get damage on the front bumper, makes it, especially on the corners, it just makes it so hard to get that car turned and driving up off the corner.
Yeah, I mean, right there, I mean, Danta just goes right by Rogers.
Yeah, Rogers not able to hold on. Here comes Brian Honeycutt to the inside.
You know, as we're closing in on 50 to go here, WD, I mean, in your shoes as the leader, you know, let's say a caution comes out with 25 to go. I mean, what do you do in his shoes? Do you opt to go just take maybe right sides and try to hustle out of the pits, or do you just try to stay out and hopefully the tires cool down enough where you can try to make something happen? But, you know, with the heat cycle, they're going to be really good for about 2 laps. What are they going to do after those 2 laps?
Yeah, I guess it depends on how many cars are on the lead lap and how many cars you think will come in behind you, because if you come in as the leader, you almost need all of those cars behind you, or at least half of them, to come back to the pit road and fall back behind you. And even though you're on new tires, it's not going to be like a complete superpower. As we've seen here tonight, it's still going to be tough to pass, and you're going to have to drive back through the field. So it's definitely going to be an interesting decision when the time comes, if the time comes. We're about 55 laps shy of the finish.
I mean, and your points leader, you know, he's made it back up to P4. That's a pretty decent night for points. And again, you know, we're closing in on 50 to go, so there's still time left to maybe try to reel in up to second. But I mean, Kraus, the leader, I mean, he's checked out right now.
Yeah, Kraus's advantage 2.6 seconds. As Tristan Swanson and Brian Tedeschi continue to battle for the 4th spot. Preston Boers is up in front of them in the 001 machine.
And right there, Tedeschi, just kind of gets in the door of Swanson there and just kills his momentum right there. Because as we've seen, everybody else on the top, right there, no contact through 3 and 4, and he just rolls on by him. But he kind of got him in the door 1 and 2, and they stayed about even in the straightaway. If you're going to make a pass, you're going to have to lean on their door to be able to make it happen. As Tedeschi there makes a lunge down into 3 and just not able to get it done.
Yeah, just so tough to make the pass. You can pull alongside, but you just cannot make that pass completely. As both of these drivers closing in on Preston Boers for the 3rd spot. The lap 100 mark goes up on the board with about 50 laps to go. And the way that the field is spread out, caution chances are looking rather slim in these final 50.
Yeah, Tedeschi back, down low trying to make something happen. Oh, gets on the door a little bit off the corner. Stays with him at this door. See what he does here in 1 and 2.
Yeah, you're almost going to have to move up the track and try to take some of his runaways. They pull even down the backstretch. Tedeschi trying to complete that pass for the 4th spot. At the line that time, Tristan Swanson has it by a nose. Lap car right there did a good job of getting right out of the way. Just down on the bottom. Tedeschi in the 29 pulling ahead here. And he's not really using up Tristan Swanson too much. He's giving him room up off the corner. The 91 just losing some of that drive off the corner. Around he goes!
Wow.
Tristan Swanson, your points leader.
Man, looks like the car just really got upset, Maybe it just didn't transfer the weight very good right there, just really upset the car, and around it goes. And, as you know, once these late model stocks get sideways, it's very hard to get them to come back.
Yeah, some of the cars in iRacing, you can get pretty sideways and bring them back. With late model stock, for whatever reason, once that back end comes around a certain point, it's very tough to bring it back. And you can see Tristan Swanson had to lock him down. And up front, field coming to pit road. A couple drivers electing to stay out. Actually, I think one driver, Brett McCoy, in the 1 machine, staying out here. Everybody else comes to pit road.
Yeah, I mean, what does the leader do here? Does he take 2 or does he take 4? Looks like Kraus takes 2 right there. Really kind of interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's up front. Derek Kraus lost the top spot down pit road. Actually, Jackson Lewis and Brian Tedeschi leapfrogged him coming out of pit road.
Yeah,
so he'll have some cars to pass here.
That comes back to, who had the Cup team and who had their grandparents out there.
Yep, we mentioned that earlier on. Feel bad now because we may have jinxed him a little bit, but Derek Kraus came down pit road with the lead, came out without the lead. So he'll have his work cut out for him here in these final, what will be 45 or so laps.
As we come to the choose right here, kind of interested to see where everybody goes. Looks like Lewis takes the bottom, Tedeschi high, Kraus to the bottom, Boers to the top. If I'm in Kraus's position, which, he didn't really have to put up much of a fight up front in the first part of this race, but, I don't think it would have been a bad idea to follow Tedeschi to the top.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to start on the bottom. But we'll see what happens.
Green.
Good launch from Lewis.
Really
Yeah, he kind of pulled down to the bottom, and that was able to give him a straight run up off the corner. It's now Derek Kraus and Brian Tedeschi going to battle for the 2nd spot. There's already contact down this back straightaway. And the 9 machine going to slide up in front. Wow, big power move there. Oh, and around goes Tedeschi down in 1 and 2, and a big one. Or almost a big one, I should say, back behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks like Boar's right there. Just as I talked about the wall earlier, where it kicks out and then kicks back in. It looks like Boar's just didn't give him just enough room where the wall kicked back in, got him in the left rear, and not much that Tedeschi could do right there. But again, these guys have taken tires and it's go time. He's trying to get everything he can get. That's just a really hard racing deal right there.
Yeah, it's tough for Tedeschi right there, down into 1 and 2. Let's look at it one more time. I want to try to see. There we go. It's a good angle. And just looks like he tried to close the gap. I think he was holding him a little bit tighter than Preston Boers was Preston Boers was ready to give.
Yeah, I mean, right there Tedeschi's all over the wall in this tough break.
Yeah, got him at a
Which
bad
that's
point.
going to hurt Boers also. He's probably sustained some right front damage from that. So, again, going back to Rogers' situation, when it hurt the right front, it's like he threw an anchor out the window.
Yeah, I don't think Boers' part is as bad, but definitely some right front damage that's visible there, for sure.
And now the man who's led this almost his entire race, what is he going to do here? Is he going to take the bottom again, or is he going to try to roll the top here on Lewis? As we saw earlier, Lewis isn't afraid to, put his right front on you.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what happens here. Kraus takes the outside lane. He's going to have to get a good jump. We know the 9 machine's fast. If he gets a good jump, he'll be close. Good jump from Lewis on the bottom. He'll be clear down the front stretch. Kraus close down the back stretch.
Right
yeah, top 2 breaking away. Preston Boers in the 3rd spot. He's got Joe Schaefer Jr. on his outside. Oh, and they're wrecking back behind him, Corey Rogers. Yeah, Corey Rogers, we saw him. He was battling up front earlier on, now collected in this incident. We've said it before, but we will say it again, Grable. Cautions breed cautions on short track side of things. And that is what we saw here. We'll see what happened out of 4. They all kind of stacked up. That is the 307 of Ryan Howard, the white car.
Yeah, it looks like Rogers, just drives it straight into the wall, and then when he bounces off the wall there, it gets Howard, and, just chain reaction from there, People, looks like the 18 car, nowhere to go right there, and just causes this whole wreck, where he bounced off the wall and then leaves 18 nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's a tough break there, and when you're at this point in the race, you're just trying to get everything you can. You know that there's some limited laps left, and it's hard to lift when you're coming off the corner right there. But Rogers back down to pit road. Able to exit pit road, he'll stay on the lead lap. But Jackson Lewis, your leader, getting good starts on the bottom here. What can Derek Kraus do to try and get a better restart this time?
Yeah, my go-to is just kind of hang out his door a little bit and try to roll your throttle and just hope you time it right. If you roll the throttle too soon, then you look like an idiot up top because you kind of got to check up, and then he gets a good lunge. So just got to hope you time his restart. You just got to think about what he did on the last one and hope he does it again.
Yeah, as they do the choose cone right here. Kraus going to take the outside lane to the outside of Jackson Lewis, but Lewis, like we've mentioned, is getting those good restarts here. We'll see what happens this time out of 4. About 30 laps to go, Gravel. I think these top 2 are going to be battling for the win. This car drops back to the bottom. Another good start for Lewis. He kind of clipped the bottom right there, but I don't think it's going to affect him too much, as he'll be clear down into 1 and 2. Trouble back behind him, though. Oh, and contact for the lead.
Big wreck.
Big wreck down the backstretch. Wow, big one there. I did not see what happened. I looked back, and Jackson Lewis had spun.
Man, it looks like Kraus, you know. Lewis is barely clear, and this Kraus tried to turn under and got him jacked up and filled with nowhere to go.
Oh, yeah, just misjudged it right there, and then when he came back up, that really finished him off. A lot of cars in that with nowhere to go. Want to watch Preston Moore's onboard view right there. He got a good look at what exactly had happened. Yeah, he had nowhere to go. Lewis in the 07 came right back up in front of him. Man, tough break for a lot of the drivers that had been up at the front of this one.
And, you know, speaking of Boers right there, you know, right before that big wreck, you know, Schaefer Jr. and him get tangled up getting into one, you know. Gets Schaefer, you know, all jacked up right there, and then the wreck happens out in front of him.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the restart back right here. The 0-1 and the 6 made contact, and I was looking at that, and then as soon as I looked back, you see the 9 getting to the back of the 0-7, and then just nowhere to go for so many of those drivers. Track is blocked, and you've been on the backstretch here, as have I. It is narrow at New Smyrna. When something happens in front of you, it feels like you have nowhere to go, because there's wall to your right, and then grass and wall to your left. So you kind of just have to hit the brakes really hard and hope that everybody behind you is on the same page.
Yeah, and, you know, as you went back and looked at Boer's end car, I mean, you know, Lewis is wrecking in front of him. He goes high, and then when Kraus gets back to Lewis's front to get him turned back straight, Lewis just shoots right back up in front of him. This really bad deal right there.
Yeah, they almost had a lot of it saved, but not able to do so. As we go back green, look who's back at the front. Ryan Honeycutt, the driver that spun on lap number 1. He's back up at the front, and he is your race leader with 26 laps to go. They'll come back to 25 right here.
Which, this is a good point right here, why you never give up. Man spins on lap 1, 25 to go, and he's leading the race.
Yeah, he kept with it the entire race.
The points leader is right behind him, and, you know, when you're leading the points, you want to get as big as a margin as you can. So Swanson's going to want to try to get to him and get around him. So he's really right here. He's got to be giving it everything he's got these last 20 or so laps.
Yeah, and the guy in the 3rd spot in the points is Anthony Danta too. He's right there in the 3rd spot. So he's going to try to get as good of a run as he can here tonight with 23 laps to go. He definitely looks like he has some speed left in the tank in these final laps.
Yeah, and the guy sitting second in points, he's riding P6. So with Danta having a 3-spot position on him right here, you know, he could really take advantage of something here, as he's only behind him 1 point. So right now, he should be taking over the 2nd spot.
Yeah, Danta in the 51 wants to try to maximize the points that he can get here tonight. He would love to pass your points leader to try and close that gap. But Swanson doing a good job holding that second spot right this minute. Ryan Honeycutt, though, in the race lead. Smooth sailing, coming back to 20 laps to go. Oh, and we've got trouble behind him out of 4.
Oh.
Brett McCoy and Brian Tedeschi turned around. I saw one of them go up into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like McCoy just gets into Tedeschi, and, you know, Tedeschi just, it really upsets the car and then snaps him right into the wall. And from where McCoy, you know, hit him, it overloaded the front end, and around he went and into the inside wall right there. Hard lick for both of them.
Oh, yeah, both of them went around. 29 machine actually did a full, that may have been more than 360 up on the top side when he hit the wall. There's some damage on that race car, but he keeps it going, continues to drive forward. We are just about ready to wrap things up. Just inside of 20 laps to go. More drivers coming down pit road to get damage fixed.
Yeah, I mean, this as a leader, this is not what you want to see. You know, cautions racking up here at the end, because that gives the guy in second, you know, that gives him more of an opportunity to figure out what you're doing on the restarts. He can judge you a lot better every time you restart. In Honeycutt's situation, he's got to switch up what he's doing on restarts, because if he stays consistent, they're going to be able to time him, and we've already seen how dominant the top is.
Yeah, and right now, they're going to choose next time. If you're Anthony Danta in the third spot, you know you've got the points leader right in front of you. Which lane are you going to choose? Are you going to go outside, or are you going to go inside? You're probably going to follow the leader, but would you rather have either lane?
In Danta's spot, I'm probably going to have to, you know, take... It really is going to depend on the leader, but you're going to want the top either way, because you're just able to roll it so good. But, you know, Honeycutt's probably going to take the bottom here. Oh, I'm wrong. Honeycutt takes the top. Danta follows Honeycutt.
Yeah,
Tristan
I think
Swanson
Danta
here could have made the wrong choice.
Yeah, Danta
Tristan,
made the
you know,
right choice for sure up top, though.
Yes, Danta definitely made the right choice, but should have Swanson followed Honeycutt to the top?
Yeah, we'll have to see here. It's gonna be tough for the 91 to get a good launch. It's harder to start, in my opinion, from the inside when the outside car is the leader. So we'll see what happens as Honeycutt gets the jump. He'll be clear, but Tristan Swanson going to be able to clear up in front of Anthony Danta for second. Down the backstretch, Corey Rogers underneath Anthony Danta trying to take away the third spot. That 17 machine is back up in the mix here late. He had a lot of speed early on.
Yeah, I mean, Danta, you know, it looks like the bottom's got a little bit more even. You know, they was really clearing them early. Rogers there just kind of backs out of it and lets Danta go.
Yeah, the bottom, like you said, definitely, I think, starting to get a little bit better. But as we get further into the run, we run it green till the end. I don't know if the bottom's going to be there in those last couple laps. I think it's there on the starts, but it definitely fades away.
And again, the bottom could be coming in because, you know, these guys just took, you know, 4 fresh tires. You know, the car may have built tight. You know, these cars are known to do that on fresh tires. They're known to get a little tight. Danta peeking to the inside of Swanson there, you know, trying to get past the points leader here. Kind of just hanging out his quarter right there. Ooh, caution's out.
Yeah, there was a spinner back behind. That's Ryan Howard in the 307. Man, that is not what Anthony Danta wanted to see. He was just about to take that second spot away from Tristan Swanson. We'll see what happened to Ryan Howard in the 307. I think contact with Eddie Dabrowski in the 029 up off of 4.
Yeah, I mean, just gets him in the left rear there, and nothing Howard can do right there. Backs it into the fence, the inside wall.
Yeah, you can see the 29. He's trying to make the pass right there, just could not keep the car low. We're going to be set for another restart here. This one is inside of 10 laps to go. So this one is going to be a shootout. Not a lot of time left for Tristan Swanson or Anthony Danta to try to steal the spotlight here at New Smyrna.
Speaking of your top three here, damage-wise, Danta has the best looking car. I mean, the right front of Swanson's is hurt. It's killed. The left front of Honeycutt's is really, really hurt. Danta has minimum right front damage. So maybe his car is a little bit better than the two in front of him. Is he going to be able to make something happen there?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see here. The laps are running out, though. If you're outside of the top 3 or 4 here, I think you may be out of hope for a win, but everybody going to try to get as much as they can here. Going to make things a little bit crazy on these final restarts. You know how late race restarts on iRacing go, Gravel. Everybody wants to get every last position. We'll see how they choose.
Yeah. Restarts by far scariest part of iRacing. And I believe it's a scary part of racing in general because, everybody's bunched up and you don't have nowhere to go if something happens out in front of you. You have to predict something before it even happens. There's so much that happens on a restart. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just got to think what's going to happen and go with your gut.
Yeah, you really have to trust the guy in front of you, especially when they're all bunched up like this, as we prepare to send them back racing. Ryan Honeycutt choosing the outside lane here. Let's see how it works for him. He'll launch from the top, and we're back racing once again. A little better launch from Tristan Swanson on the bottom. He's going to be to the inside of Honeycutt through turns 1 and 2. Drag race down the back.
Really
Swanson
even
to the inside. Even through turns 3 and 4. Coming back to 5 to go here, but the 28 going to pull back ahead down into 1.
Yeah, I mean, the top 4 here are still side by side. Swanson doing a really good job on hanging on the bottom as he leans up on Honeycutt there.
Yeah, Honeycutt did not get as good of a jump that time, and Tristan Swanson was able to keep his nose inside. Now he's trying to take that top spot away on the inside lane here with 4 laps to go. Coming back to 3 right here.
Swanson's got his nose in front of him right there. Believe it's going to be Swanson at the line right there.
Yeah, the new leader, give it to Tristan Swanson, the top 3, and actually top 4, all side by side. Trent Smith and Anthony Danta battling with each other right there as well. Popsicle sticks up in the air. 2 laps to go. Final 2 laps. Tristan Swanson trying to steal it from Ryan Honeycutt here, and I think he's going to be able to clear. Here comes Honeycutt, going to dive it back to the bottom. White flag is out. Final time here at New Smyrna. Down through turns 1 and 2. Tristan Swanson has got the 28 of Ryan Honeycutt all over his back bumper, but Honeycutt's going to get a little bit loose off of 2. Anthony Danta to the inside. It's going to be Tristan Swanson taking the victory at the line. It'll be a photo finish for second. And I think Anthony Danta is going to pick up the victory across the line. We'll wait for it to refresh. Or pick up the second place spot across the line, I should say.
Yeah, Danta got him at the line by just barely at nose.
Yeah, I think 2 1,000ths the official gap there for the second spot. But Ryan Honeycutt comes home in the 3rd spot. Back behind him, Tristan Swanson, your winner, though. We'll grab a word from our top 3 finishers in just a moment here. We're going to step away for one quick moment on the WD Broadcasting Network. Be right back. Alrighty, folks, we're back here on the WD Broadcasting Network. We're ready to grab a word from our top 3 finishers. Let's look at our final finishing results here. Get them up on screen for you guys. We'll grab a word from our 3rd place finisher, Ryan Honeycutt first. We'll see if we can't grab him up into the broadcast booth. Ryan Honeycutt, our 3rd place finisher here tonight. You get a copy up in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Alrighty, well, 3rd here tonight. You spun on lap number 1, made a little contact on the exit of 4, spun down to the bottom, recovered from that, and ended up taking the lead after that whole pile up down the back straightaway. And you were able to hang on to a podium here tonight. Ended up P3. Tell me about your race.
Yeah, I felt like I was pretty good the long run. I just got loose one time, and I wasn't able to get as many spots as I would, and I put 4 on it. When most people, I think, put 2, and I just got lucky, and I got the lead, and I don't know. I choked it on the last one, like I was so much better than them, but I just got so focused on, like, I started getting loose, so I started focused on pinching them down, and we just made contact a couple of times, just racing hard. It was probably one of the best races I've had for a win, but it just sucked that I didn't win it. And then I was just gonna run through 3 and 4 the final time, and I ran a lane and a half up the racetrack for 3rd, so that was fun. But oh well.
Yeah, always hard racing here at the new Smyrna Speedway. Always fun watching you guys race hard. But we'll let the driver ask you a question here. From the driver's perspective, Gravel, what do you have to ask from Ryan?
You know, they're towards the end. You know, you said you was trying to really pinch him down. You know, was you just really trying to kill his run, or what was your goal there?
Well, like, me and Tristan, like, we're pretty good friends, so we were in Discord together, and I knew he had right front damage, and he was gonna be tight. So my goal was to just pinch him down so hard where he had a lift, and I could, like, he would just be killed to the center. But the way I pinched him down, all I did was just pinch him down so he'd slide up and hit me instead of, like, he wasn't gonna lift. Like, I don't expect him to lift, but um, so instead of just losing speed from getting pinched, he would just barely tap me. It was just enough to upset it and being on the top, and then I tried to cross him over, and I messed my crossover up, didn't get enough of a run, and it was kind of just a lot of stuff. Like, hindsight's always gonna be 20/20, but I probably should have taken the bottom. I thought he was gonna be so tight that I would be able to beat him on the top, like I did the first couple starts. It didn't happen that way. I didn't clean my tires up or something. I don't know. Just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, you know, and that's like what me and Winston was talking about up here. You know, it's always tough to make that decision. Do you go top or bottom? Because, you know, he had some damage, but you just got to think what the right choice is in the moment and go with it.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is what it is. But it was a good race. I'm sure in a minute it'll feel a lot. It'll be a lot better. I feel like it was a good race, and I won't care as much about the result.
Well, it's
Yes,
still
for
a good
sure.
result.
Back to you, WD.
Yeah, still a good result for you, Ryan. Ended up P3 here this evening. Who do you have to thank for a podium finish here at New Smyrna?
I just want to thank my grandpa and my girlfriend for watching, and Christian for racing me clean for the win, and then you guys and Brett for the broadcast and putting on the race.
Alrighty, well, congratulations to you, Ryan, on your 3rd place finish here this evening, and hopefully we can talk to you later on this season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Alrighty, Gravy, let's talk to our winner here tonight, Tristan Swanson. See if I can't grab him up into the booth. There we go. Race winner here tonight, Tristan Swanson, up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I gotcha.
Alrighty, well, winner here this evening. You have 1 win so far this season coming into tonight. Picked up win number 2 here this evening, and that's going to extend your points lead. You started on pole, ended up picking up the victory when it was all said and done. Tell me about your run.
Yeah, it was definitely a kind of a struggle race, honestly. I was actually looking really forward to this one. But it just didn't really pan out the way I wanted to. The car didn't handle the way I wanted it, and really struggled during that long run there. But came in, took tires, and ended up losing a little bit of talent there and bringing out that yellow self spinning. But ended up coming down for tires and made the right changes, and yeah, definitely worked out on that last restart.
Yeah, the first restart we kind of saw Honeycutt get the good jump on you. You were able to clear up behind him and then battle with Danta. That second restart, you timed him up a little bit better and had a run to his inside. You guys fought hard, and ultimately you ended up taking the victory on the inside lane. Gravel, once again, from a driver's perspective, what did you notice about Tristan's run? What questions did you have?
You know, with being on the bottom here, as up here in the booth watching this entire race, we saw how dominant the top line was, as she was just able to get such a good drive off compared to the guy on the bottom. How nervous was you on that final restart being on the bottom?
Yeah, for sure. It was just kind of a matter of being able to just kind of still hit your marks while you're on the bottom. You got to keep in mind that there's the car on the top that's going to get his runs, but you just kind of got to pinpoint your objectives on the bottom, and hopefully it pans out. And in this case, it did. A lot of the times, I knew he was gonna run me hard, and pinch me down, and I knew what I had to do, and as far as kind of still trying to get my entry point to where I would be if I was by myself. So ended up working out, and yeah, it was a super fun race, and Ryan and I are good buddies, so definitely was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, you and him put on one hell of a show there at the end. I mean, congratulations to you guys. You two put on probably the best side-by-side racing we saw all night.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was definitely a good run between the two of you. You ended up getting the better of him there at the end. He was a little bit hard on himself in the interview, but all in all, good race for the both of you. You ended up getting the better end of it. Who do you have to thank, Tristan, for the victory here tonight?
Yeah, just got to thank Elite Performance Industries, Sharp Design Co., BMR Racing, as well as my wife for letting me do this every Monday. This is a blast, and I look forward to it every Monday. So, yeah, as always, thanks to all the guys that put on this league. They do a hell of a job. So it's just fun.
All right, well, we've got two more races before the playoffs, before we reset things. South Boston next week, 200 laps. Do you think you can know? Oh, my headset started talking to me mid-sentence there, kind of messed everything up. Do you think you can go 2 in a row?
I don't know. I always say never, but I'm not a huge fan of the new South Boston, but we'll see what it comes. So definitely gonna have my work cut out, especially with I'm gonna be having to start back in the rear. And so it'll be fun for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a long 200 laps, especially starting from the rear. But one more time, congratulations to you, Tristan. We wish you luck next week, and hopefully we can talk to you one more time this season.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep. Alrighty, Brian Gravel, we are just about ready to wrap things up. I'm going to run through the finishing lineup, then we're going to close it out. Tristan Swanson, your winner. Anthony Danta, second. Ryan Honeycutt, third. Trent Smith, fourth. Corey Rogers comes home in the fifth spot. Brian Tedeschi, sixth. Brett McCoy, seventh. Ryan Howard, eighth. Eddie Dabrowski, ninth. Scott Kingswan, 10th. Derek Kraus and Jackson Lewis, 11th and 12th. And those two were the class of the field here tonight in the second half of this race. Going to come home outside of the top 10. Jason Hack, 13th. Preston Moores, 14th. Joe Schaefer Jr., 15th. Michael Ostiek, 16th. And Riley Stenjum comes home in the 17th spot. That rounds out our field. Gravel, well, what did you think of your first Winter Challenge Series race up in the broadcast booth?
Man, I mean, it was really crazy, and I thought it was going to go all the way to the end on that long green flag run. I thought Kraus, with as big as his gap as he had, I thought maybe he could have just held on to his tires and made it all the way. I don't know what the fuel situation looked like for him, but I mean, it was a really good race there at the end. That was really good racing right there at the end. You know, they piled up some cautions, but you know, when it comes down to the end, everybody's trying to get to the front, so it's bound to happen.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit hectic there, but we did see quite a few. We definitely did see quite a few cautions there. There was a big pileup on the back straightaway, and that made things a little bit crazy there at the end. But good finish, good race here at New Smyrna. I think that's going to do it for us here tonight, folks. Thank you guys for watching here on the WD Broadcasting Network. If you guys haven't already, hit that red subscribe button for more iRacing content and to stay notified when we go live. But we will see you guys back tomorrow night for the Leave the Pack Super Series, Barry Elvis Performance and Fabrication 150 at Myrtle Beach, and Thursday night with the Trackmaster Sim Series. So thank you guys for watching one more time. I am your host, Winston Deal, alongside Brian Gravel, signing it off from New Smyrna. Peace out.